Welcome back, everybody. Sorry for the slight, minor complication, inconvenience problem that occurred with our ears and audio equipment. It's fortunately been fixed, as I think that has been readily aware and made aware for the music audio you've been hearing. But my name's Infernosis, joined here by Sticula. And as we were saying, Syntax versus Candace is a game that we were pretty excited for. You hadn't heard much from Syntax. I had seen them prior. I actually really liked what they have done. Yotsubo was a fragger by all accounts. And round one was a bit of a lackluster performance from them. They went for that outside study push. They got cut off 2 kills immediately from Phoenix and from, I believe it was Faded at the very beginning, that completely just slumped all of Syntax's assault and slowed it down to a snail's pacing. But man, Candace knows how to keep things even all across the board. 1 kill for every person.
Hey, got a bit of a team ace there going in the first round. Congratulations, Trunks, all around to them. But yeah, the first round, I don't really have much to say for Syntax other than the fact that they tried to go study over when that was where Candace had stacked the majority of their utility. They were trying to make this big assault onto the mute Damazi, but that's really not going to go too well to try to deal with all of that drone denial. Honestly, I would have liked to see how that round might have gone if Syntax had approached it from more the vertical take point of view, but we'll have to wait to see statue, excuse me, of course, as that's now locked out with Candace winning the first defense round. They're going to hit the rotation and go over towards the Aviator, the sister site. Here on the top floor, it'll be a master over push. All of the attackers moving their way in. Of course, Yotsuba, notable fragger here at the forefront, the spear tip of the assault. As Syntax are just kind of playing it cool, getting all of their intel, making sure that they don't miss drone any Candace defenders that could be lurking in the corners.
Lurking, like I spoke about and no one heard whatsoever, is my favorite strategy in R6, that offsite roaming, playing your own angle. I love to see that, and when you've got a pub stack like you would call one of these teams, typically you'll have a more frag-centric, stylized kind of roam, and that's a little bit more entertaining, but a little less team-oriented and gathers a little bit less information, which may be a huge downturn for this side, but Syntax now on the assault. They've managed to actually get inside the building without losing anyone and finally gaining the first pick. They'll take out Joe. Hex finds the first, and now they've got themselves an advantage, but they have to be able to gain more than just that. Yotsuba steps out from landing, gets immediately dropped and finished off by Faded, and a 4v4 must now go underfoot, but Bales is still holding this classical Hull 90 right next to Hatch. He's wary of them stepping out from that trophy room, sees the Ayana Gemini drone, the replicator, and decides to get aggressive now, walking close and ready at a moment's notice to step up, and sees the tracers from Phoenix's shots, but doesn't know what to peek. Finds the shot, a nade is tossed, but Bales does find Krieger and gets away with his life unscathed.
That's a huge pick for this point in the round as well. You stall out Syntax more so. You remove the Iana as well, which cannot be understated. There's only 6 drones remaining here. Blade has lost both of his, so you can't take that flank watch away to go distribute her drones. Hex and Flex are going to have to put their own drones down to try to make sure that the flanks are covered if the air jab is maybe a little bit more lacking. Flex is going to find one in an important moment as the man count goes back at even, but 2 attackers here on relatively low HP, and Candace are feeling as healthy as ever. Time cracking on, and the Goyo shield there at the skull door has yet to be cleared, and without the Iana, you're going to have to substitute some other form of utility if you want to hope to get this cleared. However, well, my magnets seem to be making this a difficult process. Still, the Vulcan is yet to be cleared, and it seems pretty clear, like Syntax are not going to be able to force their way through the skull door. They'll hit a rotate, come in from 90, Flex finds the first, lines up a second as the AK-12 just rips through Faded there at the rotate, and now it's the coverage game, but Hexer's got a nitro, sends it downtown for 2, taking them all down in the time we're in the red zone. Blade, you've got to do something.
Nasty, an absolute savor of a round right there to get that double nitrocell toss. I mean, we just saw the NBA Finals came down, and we just saw another one of a slam dunk, slam fest right there as well. So Candace going to take the first 2 rounds. I wanted to say round 1 was in a pretty dominant fashion. The round 2 didn't seem very dominant until the end, where we saw that nitro go off and still having that 1-player safety net to stay hidden and to stay out of the way. That round almost entirely saved for Syntax by Flex alone on that double step in, the double rush coming in through Game's door from Classical Hall, but ultimately it fizzled out when that nasty nitro was dropped in found 2. Candace cannot get away with that every single round, but unfortunately for Syntax, it still happened to go that way. Candace now with that 2-round advantage will have to work with the tertiary objective choice, kitchen and dining, and they'll have to figure out what exactly is going to work for them this time. A lot of teams like to make that quick and aggressive approach to come in through pantry. Some go through basement as well, rotate through pantry and take that extremely quick route instead of playing that slow and methodical second floor, breach the floor and play there. I think that might be what we see because Syntax did not bring a sledge. They don't have a hammer to clear the floor. They'd have to rely on breaching rounds and breaching charges to get it done. And I don't think that's a smart use of utility at this point because Candace can just catch them off with the nitro cells they have in pocket. 4 of them they have, as well as a cardiac sensor.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
One thing for Syntax, I'd like to see them be a little bit more conservative with the way that they're droning things out. You've lost 2 from your entries already, and you've lost another one now as well there from the Nomad. It seems like the droning is just a little bit lackluster in my opinion. You want to hold on to that drone advantage, especially when you're going up against Mute Mozzie. You've already lost 3 drones, and that wasn't even due to the utility that Candace brought. That was Syntax kind of just wasting away their drones during the prep phase. There's this old adage in Siege that intel is only about 3 seconds long, and after that it becomes inaccurate. You don't want to be wasting your drones like this. They haven't even progressed to the site. We're at half on the Nitro's rather intel remaining. Faded will find a nice little novelty pick there with the Nitro, but the impact from the entries here of Syntax just completely fires back. And, you know, I guess if the drone count isn't the prettiest factor, they're just pure power to shut down in the opening duels is maybe a little bit more good looking.
Yeah, they're obviously able to find those picks and actually win those gunfights, which is massively going to create a huge advantage for your side. It's going to be able to separate yourself from the competition. That's exactly what we just saw. Hixer's ready to watch that laundry room step in, and they're very wary about what's going to go on because they're now 1 man down as Phoenix manages to take Yotsuba, but they've still got to worry about that extra push. One player crouch peeking, sees the head, but Hex finds the shot first. A 3v1 now in motion. Hixer has to get the job done. I'm scared to say, but this might be the first round we see Candace ultimately fall. 1 player in kitchen. Hex takes a little bit of damage. Pix steps up to find 1, but cannot find the second as Flexo hops off of the diffuser, stops planting that lunchbox, and finds the last kill.
Just wrapping it up there, I imagine that's probably how Syntax wanted the previous round on Aviator to look like. Yeah, the way that they set up through the mid-round was a little bit lackluster, and they did lose a couple of drones, but at the end of it, it's game day, and sometimes the drones, the intel, doesn't matter. When Syntax is just a pure arm wrestling competition of their gun power and their gun skill wrestling into the objective. And Syntax make it look oh so good there on the dining attack. They didn't even need the sledge Infernosis because they didn't go for the vertical play.
Just played their own game. It's one of those weird strategies that's kind of existing right now in the T3, T4 scene. Just play that rush, play the gunfight, and in all honesty, Syntax played it pretty spectacularly. They only lost 1, and in all honesty, they only lost it because of a Nitro cell. Phoenix managed to tag that, or sorry, Faded managed to tag that. And it was interesting to see how it played, but ultimately didn't play out very well. They managed to lose 3 and only got 1 kill in the process. Candace were floundering at the beginning. They had to make this huge resurgence, and yes, you had 2 good players at the end to handle it. Phoenix managed to take care of 1. Hixer took care of 1 as well, almost dropped down Hex as well inside of that dining room, or sorry, kitchen, as they attempted to push in from pantry, but it just was not meant to be, and Candace was going to ultimately face their first round loss in round 3. And now they're going to try and, you know, not have that unfortunate happenstance replicate itself here in round 4. Syntax is looking to maybe make a difference. They're going to be playing back an objective they've already lost prior. This one was a little bit iffy in a lot of aspects for them. They're having to make sure they don't get flanked, don't lose too many of their gunfights, which they haven't been in the last few rounds, and actually make sure to let Candace sweat a little bit and make them work for this round victory.
So we talked about this when we went to the first round. I wanted the adaptation to come and play the vertical play below for more of a master push, and it seems my wishes have been answered here from Syntax. They'll send 2 in through the basement office, one of those common entry points that we see for the crouch walking combo, Ashe and Zofia. Maybe some utility coming down here, breaching around in hand from Hex to try and open up the wall below triple here, and seems that should be enough to disturb the mute jammers that would otherwise prevent the hard breaching process. Candace have really banked on less of, you know, pure utility for the sake of util, and more some drone denial thrown in here, some time waste, of course, from the smoke in the Aruni to try to slow down Syntax to make sure if they go for more of a last-second push, especially if they fail to clear some of the utility, if they're not wasting the smokes or clearing Aruni and her Surya gates, they'll be punished just a little bit more so. Nobody taking any opening death tolls here on that process of accumulating the vertical control. Of course, Candace didn't actually send anybody below to try to prevent that, which could be an adaptation that we see them use if this round doesn't go their way and they try to repeat it in number 5.
Yeah, I think if Candace manages to lose this round, then we've definitely got ourselves a game on our hands. The back and forth action needs to be there. We need to see this confrontation go both directions. A bit of a tit for tat kind of scenario. Candace definitely know how to defend, but the issue is that they're already losing another player. A minute left. Now a second one drops. Joe and Bales will be taken out by Krieger and Hex. Hex finds a second out of Phoenix. Ready to push in, but Yotsuba's felled in the process by Hixer. Faded finds one with Aroni as well to Hex's head, but Flexo's continuing to pop off and finds Hixer in the process. Now the lunchbox going down. Faded is the last man standing on this Candace's defense. Krieger spots him as they attempt to step away, takes a shot, managing not to hit a single one, but now has to be wary. Faded turns and finds Blade in a nasty confrontation, but Faded is still facing off in a 2v1 situation in a post-plant scenario. 30 seconds may remain on the clock, but less than 30 HP to Faded's name. Now has to rush inside sight, sees the tracers of the shots connecting right in front of him, knows one is nearby, sees the shot across over towards that trophy-sided room, but has to worry about Master Bedroom as well, and there it is. Krieger finds the kill, and Syntax will in fact take yet another attacking round win.
Really impeccable gun duels to secure control of Statue there and making sure that they were able to isolate that final defender and we don't see any crazy nitros like we had there on that Aviator round from moments past. Going over to Aviator now, though, the one side in most recent memory that we've had a victory for Candace, but it was off the back of just that singular nitro kill in a round where Syntax, to be honest with you, played better than Candace at the execute stage. They realized that they couldn't really push into Skull. That Vulcan shield was in the way, and of course that's a huge booby trap that you're not really wanting to sit around until the defenders eventually detonate it. They hit the rotate, they flooded in from 90, and it works so well. I don't think Candace are really playing much of a crossfire game here so far on Villa, which is, to me, a bit surprising because there are a lot of potential crossfires that you can set up, and especially against a team like Syntax who sometimes kind of push in without intel, I think we can say. Crossfires are going to make sure that even if Syntax are just completely off the wall or making these sort of split-second intuition plays, you're prepared to at least trade it out when they do get a little hairy.
Things can get hairy really quickly. That's kind of the pace of R6. Things can change in a dime. You can split up everything in the process. Syntax have obviously changed up something to put Candace on their wits end and put them on a back burner. They're kind of in a bad spot. This, I'm going to go ahead and say it because Chief isn't here. This could very well be a barn burner of a match. And that's unfortunate to have to say when he's not here because I love to see him pull out all his gray hairs in his head. It really does look to be that way. Syntax is winning the gunfights in a pretty lopsided fashion. Obviously, we did see one right there at the end where we saw Faded turn and win a gunfight that obviously shouldn't have been won, but still managed to win it. But 90% of the other fights where it is that like 50-50 gunfights going to Syntax's favor. It's not looking to be 50-50, and I don't know if that's because they're just better at clicking heads or if they're setting up better crossfires. It's a little hard to tell. I've watched some UK leagues, I've done some casting all around, and crossfires are typically obvious to tell what's going on, and Syntax has a couple of them, but they seem to want to set them up really slow, and their timing isn't always perfect for it, but it doesn't have to be perfect if it still gets the job done.
Just settling into round number 5 here, you've got Hex on a bit of a lurk below coming in for the util. Clearly used some vertical play with the breaching round, which is pretty refreshing. Opens it up, just looking through the floor, see if he can spot anything in the way of utility up ahead. I imagine that breaching round was probably sent for Hixers. Mute Jammer on the opposite side. Aselma will follow up, and Yotsuba doing his due diligence as well as he fires away against the Mute, who was playing on the opposite side of the bar. Bit of a flank being worked there. You might see the highlight just creeping in from the library. Candace, they don't want to play this too passive, anchor too much on the site. A couple of air jabs will try to come down, so that'll compress the roam for the meanwhile, but does not completely eliminate the potential that flank could work. I love this rotate as well from Blade as he just hops up to the 90 window, but it's a moment too late as Flexo gets over aggressive. He fails to wait for the Nomad to apply additional pressure, and Yotsuba, sensing the tense nature of that moment, he tries to make a play walking into Aviator, but it fails, and it leaves his team in a severe disadvantage as Candace look like they're about to approach the first confident round closeout that we've seen all game.
Round 1 was a pretty dominant fashion, but this one was at least 2 times as dominant. I mean, there was just no chance for them to snap inside. Syntax walked in, and by all accounts, walked into the bear trap. The only difference we see is the fact that Frost wasn't actually played, but Candace's whole roster became the Frost map. They were that trap you were stepped into. It seems to be hunting season for Candace in that round. They really made Syntax have to sweat. But now we're going to have to head to a different objective, this trophy and statuary room. The one room we just saw Syntax take in a fairly lopsided affair, a little less lopsided because we did see a really nice return there by Fade in an attempt to bring back the 3v1, but it still was a 3v1 at a point in time, and Candace cannot let that happen again. We're going into the last round of this half. Syntax can take this, make it 3-3 going into this half, and have a much better chance going in onto the defense to try and split this one up. Sticula, this map in general, Villa has been a bit of a 50-50 map. It's been a bit more consistent, unlike Chalet that's attacker-sided. Coastline's still defender-sided, shockingly, at least in Pro League it is in terms of stats, but it's becoming more like Cafe, where attackers can have that chance to take a lot of rounds and even win on the attacking side, just because strategies are ever-changing and the web and flow of R6 is constantly evolving.
Yeah, Siege is a game that's kind of hard to pin down in terms of that stats, and we don't like to use those to completely illustrate the picture, but it does give you a bit of an expectation, and Villa is... Well, I guess it kind of depends where you draw the stats from. We don't have a huge, like, database of amateur leagues to look at as far as intel. I tried to accumulate one once, but the problem is with leagues running so, I guess you would say, so infrequently, the meta changes, and then you lose all of that data. It's not valuable anymore. So Villa can be defender-sided, but I think the better idea would be to look at the operator bans and think about what impact that might be having on Candace, who are playing a decent defender game, but Syntax, who are not completely out of the fight and have been striking back and have been able to get over that hump of kind of being stalled out. Maybe not so much in the first round where they were attacking Statue and they came in against that full clear, but they're starting to play a little bit more to their strengths, and curiously, Candace have gone away from that Mute and Mozzie, which has pretty much championed their compositions the entirety of this first half defense.
They still really like the Roni, though. I mean, they've been rocking it the entire time. Bales is still rocking it as well. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, Stick, let's be honest here. That SMG is nasty by all accounts, but they really like it to a point that it seems to almost be a bit of a crutch for them. And taking that away, that heavy foot, that thing that's being a cane is going to be really dangerous, much like Bales right now in Classical Hall. Stepped up, took out 2, and with a pistol, Yotsuba returns the favor with their pistol as well, but Phoenix takes out Flexo. A 2v3, despite Syntax making a bit of a comeback from that extra bit of assistance. Yotsuba now rotating back towards 90 Hall. This off-site presence that we saw heavily from Candace seems to be a little bit slowed down, as Hixer sitting inside Trophy Room. I believe we have 1 or 2 players inside, inside of Astronomy. Joe sitting inside Trophy Entrance, and just entirely been shut down. Joe finds Yotsuba's head with an SMG-11. A nade being tossed into that Surya gate inside of Astronomy, going to make it more difficult. Blade steps up, SMG-11 in hand, finds and downs Hixer, finishing them off in the process, and a 1v2 will now have to ensue despite being tagged out by that camera. Position may be known, but does have a nade to work with. Gets immediately gobbled up by that ADS, and now it's going to be a bit of a tough situation for Blade as they figure out what's going to have to happen from here.
The one thing is, Blade, he does not have control of the case, so he's got to have to go and rotate, but the utility, you can see he's stuck here. He really doesn't have anything to burn the Surya gates. His drone, wherever it is already out on the field, so he's going to drop down, instead look to maybe come up against red stairs. The case still waiting there inside. Zombie and Candace are playing together to make sure that they can hold control of it. You've got Joe in the hunting vault, holding his shotgun in the 416, I believe, from Phoenix, over inside Study to play for Joe's contact. But Blade makes a rotate as well. He is going to try to work pressure from 90. The softwall here could be his route in. He uses the sledgehammer, rips it open, looks to the interior, and spots out Joe. With 18 seconds, you have got to recover the case. This could be a huge clutch play from Blade. Will Phoenix play for the life of the case, or is he going to let the sledge collect it and try to rotate back? It's now in the possession of that SAS operator, who's charging forward. Blade will give him the fight, and Phoenix, he surely takes it. Candace will go 4-2 at the conclusion of the first half.
All right, so I'm going to imitate Chief here real fast just because we're going Take off your shift key, please. Is that close? Is that close whatsoever to him? Well, it's all right. Take off your shift key. Stop sprinting. Yes, you're nearing the end of the round. Yes, you needed to get the diffuser. But if you want to play for that kill, which you obviously acting like it with your giant stomping around, then you really need to play it just a little bit slower. Don't have to sprint for every moment. If you're going to be ready to pull up your gun and fire, you weren't ready. They caught you off guard and you lose that round because of it. That easily could have been a 3-3 split half, but Syntax ultimately fall just a little bit short, and that's something that's a little sad to see. Maybe not a little, probably major if you are a Syntax eSport fan. And I mean, in all honesty, I think a lot of people are. They're playing pretty well. They definitely have played out of their minds. They made out of the qualifiers. Now they're facing off against this Candy squad. Yes, they faced their losses. They faced what's happened forward, but they can obviously just take it on the chin, and one of these teams is going to have to take it pretty hard. They're going to have to face that inevitable loss while the other one finally catches their first W, and from the looks of it, Candace is attempting to separate themselves from the competition. They have to win not just this next round, but the ones afterward. I mean, that's how the game works in all accounts, but I don't think Syntax is going to let him go with it. Yotsuba has been one of those presences I've constantly seen on the defense that's good at flanking, good at playing around in different directions, likes to play slow, and likes to not miss any of their shots, and obviously likes to get shots missed at them as well. What did we just see? Shots coming in from, what, statuary or trophy entrance going in through that window that narrowly missed his head? I'd be panicking
I think that was from stable, like the long angle out through the bore window.
God,
almost caught out one. It really would have been. And Phoenix is bringing the LMGE, which is a pretty rare sight in its own right, so we'll see how he manages to use this one. Perhaps he's playing against Syntax and their swing. He just wants to just constantly hold down the trigger and make sure that the sometimes aggressive Yotsuba could perhaps underestimate how many bullets that Phoenix has got going for him in the magazine. Veda just approaching the window as well, applying a little bit of extra pressure against Krieger, who's holding out at 90, or excuse me, that's actually Blade, holding with his MP5, but yeah, you can see the pressure starting to be a little bit more cumbersome. He's got to kind of peel back, not expose himself, not go for the swing entirely. If Candace could get a good drone in position, they might have the upper hand, but it's a dry peek from Phoenix, of course, with that aforementioned LMG that walks right through the Malusi and takes control of 90. However, the time is getting a little bit low. Candace might need to rotate their hard breach, get Joe over here in position to open up the hunting vault wall, assuming that they can clear the mute jammer that ostensibly would be on the other side of it.
Unfortunately, now Candace is playing with a man up, and Syntax has to face off with that, well, losing that Malusi player. Yes, Malusi is a place and kind of forget operator, but playing with that man down is going to be really unfortunate. And Blade is going to have to wonder what happened and try and get that extra level of utility. We know Valkyrie's been banned out, so can't sit on that camera the entire time. We're not seeing really any camera usage in terms of utility for the Syntax's defensive side. So really and truly, there's no way for this, Blade to help in the afterlife except for maybe trying to repeat calls that come through or just staying quiet and letting his team do what they need to do. And unfortunately, Yotsuba will be joining him in the process as Hixer finds the kill. Now more opportunities to arise. Phoenix and Hixer have taken a little bit of damage, but Flex does take it even further, sitting about 10 HP, trapped inside Hunting Vault. 15 seconds will remain. Worried about the steady push. Phoenix ready to push in. Hex finds Joe with an Ice Cell kill. Phoenix now steps inside of Aviator Room, wary as this Banshee continuously drones out and hits their legs. Hix starts the plan in the process. Will be able to finish it narrowly. No! Down in the process, but it's not gonna matter. It was so close, yet so far. Syntax peeking around. Great kill cam here. This is a really impactful play. Peeking around that corner. The shotgun play to deny that plant saved them in the last narrowing seconds in that round.
That is a huge moment for Flexo there to just can the plant and get the round win in pocket, because Candace, they were a little bit too slow. We kind of talked about that. Their pace was a little bit off balance. They were going a little bit slow through the mid-round, and I think what largely contributed to that was the mute jammer. They could not clear it. Of course, they have the Flores, but Flores can't get his drone in the hunting vault if there's a mute jammer in the way, and they just flat out were not able to clear that mute jammer. If they had got the hunting vault wall open, that swing from the shotgun might never have come, and that could have meant the plant to come down. But it's a very important round win, much needed from Syntax, as it puts them within arm's reach, just one short round behind Candace here, and make sure that Candace do not strengthen their lead stepping into their second half.
Syntax needs to continue to close that gap, and I'm going to go ahead and say it here, Stick. That round was maybe not indicative of what Syntax can really pull off on the defense for both sides, whether it be success or failure. That round was extremely close. Yes, Candace played a very centralized last few second kind of push. They stepped into the actual aviation room with only 15 seconds left, which is kind of what screwed them ultimately in the end, because Flexo was able to come around that corner and actually literally save the day, save the round for his team. But in all honesty, it was super on its head. The entire round was just really flippy and floppy in both directions. There wasn't much going for either side. Candace was playing it extremely slow, trying to gather picks. Syntax was finding a couple picks, losing a couple picks, and it was just a barn burner. And that one is saying it because it's an aggressive play style. They're all really gunning for each other, and also because I despise cheap. But I'll mention it as many times as possible that I'll say barn burner for that reason. But Syntax, they managed to squeak out with a W, but now they need to kind of continue that dominant reign, and I'm not necessarily sure they can do that. That last run really doesn't show us the potential they have. We need to see them do a little bit more for us if we want to have, if we want to really see what Syntax is capable of on the defense.
And I guess it kind of mirrors, to be honest, what we had go down on the first Aviator round of the previous half. We had that huge clutch play come down from the Nitro Cell. So, hey, you know, I guess if you get a big clutch off, what Candace did to Syntax earlier in the game, Syntax now kind of returning the favor in spades as they shut down Faded as well. I'm not even sure really where that fight had come down to, but losing the Buck is, well, not what you want to have, especially with the prowess you can get opening up the floor below using the Skeleton Key. ADS burn here against the shield. Blade caught out, but that doesn't even matter as he just stands stock still in the position, and Hex will tag on for a second pick as Candace, their offense is really falling apart here on this statue push, trying to work their way through. Flexo gets a little bit too aggressive. He tries to take the ego challenge against one, but there's the trade into time from Hex as he'll accumulate 4 for Syntax here in round number 8. Maybe the previous round was a bit of luck in the 4-leaf clover, but this one looking a lot more solid.
Well, they definitely showed us. I think they maybe were listening in, Stick. Maybe think that's the thing what's happening here. I mean, well, I said we need to see more from them if we think they can actually have something be indicative of them having a chance on the defense, and we just saw exactly that. And I made the joke early of Candace being that frost map, being the bear trap that Syntax was walking into. Literally, the frost in that round was the trap that was that they were walking into. Hex popped off, found kills after kills, and just completely decimated this Candace assault. They stood no chance, and now we're going to have to see how this tertiary objective of dining room and kitchen may hold out. Candace isn't the team that's been winning the majority of the 50-50 gunfights. They like to play a little bit slower, a little bit more methodical. We'll probably see them be the team that actually goes up to that second floor and clears the floorboards to have that open floor plan. We do see a Buck, which may be indicative of that as well, but we don't see that Sledge, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult and be a little bit more obvious where they are. We do see no cardiac sensor for Syntax, however, despite them also having 3 nitro cells, so it's going to be a very intel heavy. They're going to have to gather that information, and I think they're going to have to try and rely on Blade for that. Syntax was the team on the attack that lost a lot of their drones to not only just Mozzie Pest, but also just being shot out. I don't know if Candace has been the team that's been losing those drones. They've been pretty good about that so far. They've lost 1, but in all honesty, they haven't really given those up. They've been managing to hold on to those, and I don't think that Blade's going to get many of those, or if any at all.
Attackers are moving to defuse a bomb.
One thing that might be a suggestion here for Candace moving forward if this round doesn't go their way as well, I honestly think you could try to put Lion in this composition maybe over the Nomad, because I don't feel like just the conventional air jabs is really what you want so far. I think they can do the job with simply just flank drones themselves. We saw they brought air jabs, and it was to some effect on the Aviator round. I think Yotsuba was slowed by them. He tried to flank up from Astro Stairs to disturb the statue push, but eventually he got gunned down, and he didn't earn anything off the back of that. But the Lion could be very helpful, especially with kind of the more fluid nature that Syntax are playing here on their defense. It's hard to kind of nail their players down. We aren't seeing them just hold in one position for the entire round. around constantly. They are in motion, they are on the move, and they're trying to upset Candace and prevent them from just being singularly pinned down, and the Lion can be very helpful in doing so, so we'll have to monitor, maybe see if Candace bring that out later in the game here. But it's a top floor take, a drone spotted, and that's a quick snatch up by Blade as the attackers are looking to make progress, of course, with the buck. You're going to want to work that vertical play and try to force Syntax away from the site, but the one problem is they really don't have solid control, and it's not going to be easy to take Phoenix in a gun battle. Again, that LMG will fire off against Yotsuba, shuts down the Jaeger in it as well. We'll see the additional impact of that now is Syntax feel like holding there on the vertical extension is no longer really a solid option. We'll have that final defender holding upstairs, rotate back, and rejoin the rest of the members here on the first floor.
I really like Flexo's position right there. It's a really nice long shot angle to one side. Can really cordon off a whole section of that map. Flexo does find the second pick now. It's going to take out Yotsuba, or sorry, Krieger, and a 3v5 will now be in motion where Syntax can have to play in a really large uphill battle where Candace's attack is actually finding impact. And they're not taking much damage in the process. As you called it, they're looking healthy. They have only 2 players that have taken damage, not even 40 damage across the board against Candace so far. And Syntax are still taking quite a large amount of blows. Flexo is sitting at about 65, maybe 70 HP. Hex looks to be trapped by backstairs, hoping to get something underneath this castle barricade, but it's going to be very difficult because I don't think Candace is actually looking to push towards that direction. They want to kind of plant from laundry, actually step forward and kind of get the plant in a good position towards that default plant position towards couch. They're looking for some long shot angles. They could have the opportunity to tag out the opposing player of Hex because they could be caught off. Blade steps up big and finds Bales, bailing out his team as Flexo also manages to find one of the faded. Now even back out of 3v3. Phoenix steps up, gets wub by the Banshee, shoots one of the legs, cannot finish them off as Hex takes out Phoenix. Joe takes Flexo out for the count, and Joe's felled immediately returned by Blade. Blade and Hex, the last 2 standing, and Blade, oh, narrowly misses the opportunity for it, but time not on their side, and they will squeak away with a narrow round victory.
Well, there we go. Syntax are on a bit of a second half campaign. They've accumulated a flawless rotation. They've taken strides here against Candace despite a very impressive start. Candace completely capitulated the top floor realm and even got one on the transition to the vertical play as well, but trying to execute upon the site, something continues to go wrong. And so again, I have to pull the card out and suggest maybe you want the Lion to add a little bit of extra execute structure, because Candace are just missing one piece of the puzzle here when they try to completely assault onto the objective. Maybe they need to be a little bit more thorough with their drones. Maybe the execute needs to be more rigid, and whoever is eye-gelling, if there even is one calling the shots here for Candace, needs to do a countdown to make sure that everybody is on the same page pushing into the site, because we see that Syntax, when it comes down to just purely a question of pushing into the objective, a lot of times it feels like they're just kind of losing those skirmishes. They're not able to fight back against Syntax, and they're losing the duels. Syntax play a little bit better with the utility. There's banshees, there's, smokes, there's barbed wire, that's stuff that has not been cleared, and it's causing a huge amount of time delay that Candace cannot really afford right now. Because Syntax, they've already got 3 defense wins, looking even better than Candace were on the first half, and without really a clear sign that this is going to come to a stop real soon.
This back and forth action we're seeing that we saw in the first half hasn't really been showing itself here in the second. Candace have kind of been getting walked over by Syntax. They've continued that dominant reign we've been saying, and I think Candace has slowly been adapting, though. I think that we've seen them actually manage to bring things a little bit closer. We saw that last round where at one point in time they were 2 kills up, almost 3, as they were tagging a player in the feet. Just didn't manage to get it. It was that laundry push that ultimately fizzled out. I think I would have liked to see Candace take a different approach, maybe step up through Mem, maybe trying to take a push through Red Stairs, go in through that central skylight hall and push in from there. Yes, you did have to worry about Hex that was holding that position, but in all honesty, you take out Hex and you would have not have had to face off against Blade so soon, and that was obviously a major problem for you. So I mean, any type of switch up would have been better than the ultimate result that we saw. But Candace now on the attack again, once again in round 10. They're going to have to clear out this classical hull, this 90 hull that's going through. We do see that it is, in fact, Blade that's pushing this. And trying to go for that drone can easily clear it off. We'll have to be in a bit of a dangerous situation to do that, but no one on Candace is there to actually shoot him as he pushes for that drone.
Well, we're back at square number one. It's another master push against a fairly rigid Syntax defense of Aviator in games. Let's see if they learned their lesson about that dastardly mute jammer last time they faced was a pretty nasty opponent. Yotsuba walks up red stairs. He picks off Hixer. Probably not the opening death that you want here. For Hixer's sake, I hope that he had deployed the majority of those air jabs, but oftentimes you're probably going to have one still in pocket. Yotsuba does get traded out, so it's not a complete and utter disaster. You remove one of those big roamers. That's always kind of a thought in the back of the mind for Candace. Where is Yotsuba? What is he doing? You know, what could he potentially be plotting to try to work against us? Phoenix taking a bit of health as well there. I imagine that's coming off the back of the Toxic Babe here at the skull door. It seems we've just sort of had a sudden execute. Perhaps one not very well thought out. Just there inside Aviator. Faded will pick one off over by the flank as Candace do command the man advantage. It's only 3-2 and a very narrow one at the least, but Flex is out of any remaining utility to try to burn time off the clock. And Hex, crucially, does not have a Nitro, purely going to try to deny the plant from below. So it's up to Candace here to see if they're going to play into that. Are they going to plant somewhere that has a hole open up below it? It seems, yes, that's exactly what they'll do. Bales tries to put the case down. Phoenix picks it right back up and adjusts his position, but looky there, more soft holes in the floor that he can't work against, and he doesn't seem to know that there's a defender on the other side of the wall. It leaves Faded all alone, only 2 seconds left, and again, it'll be Syntax who pick it up now 4 in a row. They are looking like a real killing machine.
I mean, what are you expecting at this point in time? Candace has not adapted their strategy beyond just winning a couple more gunfights. They're still trying to do the same tried and true thing. They're playing that last 15-30 second push. Yeah, they were a little bit quicker there, but they ultimately panicked. I mean, you could feel the panic for them. They saw the floors, they saw all the holes in the walls, and they go, okay, where the heck am I supposed to go? Where is safe? And I'll tell you what, they didn't find a single safe spot. Even when they attempted to rotate over towards the game side, which was a little bit safer because they didn't have somebody below there with a nitro cell to detonate to start the plant. They did have players in there, but you remove those, same as you did with Aviation, and it's nothing too big, none the wiser for both sides, and it could have been an entirely different story, but Candace just goes, hey, we want planes room, right? We want to fly, we want to fly by in this round, and that's just not going to happen. You're going to get exploded, you're going to get shot, you're going to be ultimately decimated, and Syntax did a great job of showing that. I mean, they've just completely, I'm going to say they've dominated this half. There has not been a single round that I've looked at where I'm like, Candace is going to win this by a dominant fashion. Even when they were down by 2 players in the round on Dining and Kitchen, Candace still managed to throw it away because they weren't able to clear Blade out of Dining, and Hex's position sitting over by that lower staircase was just impossible to maintain. And so Syntax are sitting in a dominant point of a 6-4 matchup, and Candace, I don't know if they have what it takes to bring this back and actually surmount the comeback.
Hard to predict something like that. We'll just kind of have to let the gameplay do more of the talking and see if Candace, they really want it, they have to fight for it. Now they are on the back foot. We spoke about it at the end of the first half, right at the conclusion. Candace had their 2-round lead, and then it became 1, and then it became 0. Now it's down. Now they're behind their opponents, as Candace have yet to accumulate even just 1 attacking victory. The Replicator just walks completely past Yotsuba. Huge sneak play, another one to walk right through, but luckily it's another trade, but Hex is gonna TK his teammate. Does not want to allow Candace to accumulate that pick. I imagine probably Yotsuba's decision on that part to deny the pick for Candace there, but that is a troubling sight. Improper droning, failure to clear behind the corner, even with a Replicator being sent through as well, does not bode well here in this round.
I mean, at this point in time, when it's an even 1-1 trade, it can go either way, but Bales is low. Like you said, this Gemini Replicator is going to be very pivotal, and if they lose that, then they don't really have that much information. Candace has been better about their drones than Syntax was. Syntax really just threw those out there, didn't give a single care in the world about them, apparently, but Candace done a better job, so yes, they could get by with just drones, but when you've got a Gemini Replicator, use it. Take it to its full advantage. They need to continue to do that. We see a drone trying to spawn one out through landing entrance. Blade's able to take a couple shots the other direction. Doesn't really manage to tag anyone out and barely missed the opportunity to finish off Bales in the process. That could be very dangerous. A flash goes off. One taken and eaten away by a magnet, pulled right up to the rooftop up above. And you can see the yokai there as well. Drones being shot at and Blade attempting to remove all of them. Can only tag out one in the process. But Candace has gathered the information. Bales just steps on in. Completely fails in the process. But Joe's there on a refrag over towards Flexo. Blade now taken out in the corner from Joe as he picks up a second one. It's now a 2v3 and Candace can bring this one back.
Man advantage for them, but Hex and Krieger all on low HP. It's going to be Candace who simply try to make the guillotine move. Push their way into the site. It'll be Joe who finds his third, leaving it up to the Frost. With the case coming down from Hixer, the options are low, and the time rather similar there, but the Frost finds one. She won't get the second, as it's the ace for 4. In a much-needed round, you can call Joe the savior. We're going to one more round of regulation as we step on to 5 and 6.
I think the biggest change we saw right there was the fact that Candace was using their drones the entire round. Yes, they still took their time. It was a little bit quicker than it was prior, but all time that was considered to be downtime, none of it was really downtime. They were hopping on drones, they were using that utility, they were gathering information, and that intel ultimately led Joe to find 2 picks from that outside master bedroom window, and ultimately allowed them to snap in through that landing doorway and actually manage to find impact and get into the objective and actually play for it. Syntax got fizzled out, they couldn't remove the information fast enough, and that's not necessarily Blade's fault, I would say. I mean, Blade typically was playing the Mozzie and has been so far, but was playing the Wamai that time around. I think Wamai was a necessary operator on that objective, and it did actually find impact by yoinking some of those flash grenades out of the air, but this objective is a bit of a scary one. Last time we saw this, Candace had a massive lead at the very beginning in a way that you think about it and go, hey, Candace is going to win this one, but then Syntax says, hey, we're still in this, you should know this by now. It's not going to happen that way, but Candace still has an opportunity. Match point still in the books. Candace can tie this one up and lead us into overtime, and Sticula, I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction. I think Candace has a really good chance here.
Yeah, just as long as they sort of remember the lessons of the previous round and don't fall into that same rhythm that we saw at the beginning of this half. If Candace continue to play well surrounding their intel and can, win duels against Syntax. One thing as well that you might note here, Yotsuba has been getting his entry picks, but he's been getting traded every time. It feels like he's just getting one, and then somebody from Candace will answer right back. That could be part of the formula here. Yotsuba has been a great fragger, but if he's just going 1 for 1, is his full potential really being explored? Maybe that'll be ultimately what Candace need to shut down Yotsuba, to prevent Hex from going big, making any kind of clutch plays, and then just assuring that Flex and Blade don't test the fringe of their holds too much. Great drone from Phoenix here at red. Spots out the Mozzie. Could be an opportunity to perhaps collect upon this kill, but I don't think Candace really have got anybody in position to capitalize upon this information.
Now, Sticky, you want to make a bit of a friendly bet about whether or not Candace takes this round? I think Candace is going to take it. So I put it on to you. I want to make a bet. See if Candace doesn't win this round, right, and bring us into overtime, right? If Candace doesn't win it, I will dab on screen. If Candace does win it, then you have to dab.
All right, I could go for that as well. Joe is unfortunately caught out there. Playing bottom of the stairs, Yotsuba will get one, and he doesn't get traded, but his teammate will get traded. I suppose not for the same engagement, but either way, the 1 for 1 is found, and you do remove a Nitro, which is pretty pivotal here. Syntax have only got 2 in their composition, so the explosives to deny the plant are rather low, but the case will be needing to get recovered. 4 versus 3, plant still in a bit of a tricky spot to try to go for. Candace might have to send their offense in below. Aided is just sort of lurking here. Smoke break graduate. Waiting for the angle. It's Capcan on the other side here inside Memorial, breaking the barbed wire. Faded is going to try to take his one. Knows the Capcan is inside, seemingly there. Yotsuba still playing for the angles. Another one will drop down. They have yet to recover the diffuser. Time is pretty critically low. Yotsuba has got a great angle here to work with Hex. I don't imagine you're going to have time to clear this, but he misses crucial shots, and that opens up the window for Hixer, who fires back for two, striking hard into the depth here. It's only Flexo who's left this round completely upended. Bale's trying to charge through. The cover for Flexo is low, is only saving grace. He does have the case still here. He could theoretically play the hatch, maybe use the nitro. 20 seconds to go. Flashbangs ring out. The nitro sent up above. Fails to connect for even a shred of damage against either two of these players. Rounding the corner, it's Faded who will do the justice for Candace. 2 in a row as we go into overtime.
What an absolutely spectacular ending to that round. I mean, Candace managed to bring the comeback. They managed to bring it all the way around, and you have to dab now. So, I mean, obviously a good round all around the board. I'm sure J2 and Phil are pretty happy about that, but Syntax kind of a really lackluster performance. Yeah, their defense kind of fell apart. Flexo was kind of the reliant thing. They missed the shots onto your
They
player
dropped the
Pixar.
ball.
Yeah, they dropped the ball. I mean, the ball was in their court, and they proceeded to yeet it into a different court and then complain, what happened? So I'm not exactly sure what their next intended purpose is going to be. This is a double overtime, right? You have to see how it's going to go. Syntax could just take the next two, or Candace can. And from the way that it's being seen, Candace on the defense was the more dominant team. Syntax was kind of struggling for a very large portion of this. And in my honest opinion, with the fact that Candace starts off on the defense, I think Candace can bring this full comeback despite having been ahead at a point in time and actually complete off and finish off a dominant Syntax team that we saw and thought was unbeatable. What the heck, Joe? What are you doing right now? I mean, what the heck?
I don't think he even made the rotate fully walkable. He didn't. He's having so much trouble. This must be glitched for Joe here. Joe is not getting fooled by this huge piece of wood. It's probably just not on his screen. We've all been there before, but now we're in overtime, and this is anyone's game. Candace have got a lot of momentum working for them, and that's a huge win as well. There was a lot of things there that was working to the benefit of Syntax. They had the case inside pantry, which is pretty much a bunker for the defense, but the Jaeger missing shots through the pantry hatch under the player coming into old office is probably going to be a bit of a flashback moment in this game, as in terms of where something went a bit awry for Syntax in the way that they have played so far. Candace have all started to kind of heat up a little bit, and I think that's a big story as well here. They are playing, they're working together, and they're getting their frags as well, versus when you look over towards Syntax, Blade kind of had a struggle at the start of the game, but the rest of his team, they were all doing well. They all had about similar kills. Candace now, nobody really eclipsing each other's performance terribly too much. It's Syntax who begin on the first offense, so take that as you will as far as who benefits from that statistic and from that, well, game setting, really.
Yeah, I mean, it looks to be that Candace is looking a lot more coordinated, much more cohesive as a team. Their overall strategies are flexing a little bit together in a more dominant fashion. Syntax is kind of looking like a fish out of water. They're floundering. They're not sure exactly what they need to do. And now on the attack, a position that they haven't been in for a while, and arguably the more difficult side, this could just go to Candace in a pretty dominant way. Faded finds the first pick, able to take out Krieger, almost tagging a second one off to finish. It does damage Hex, but not enough to kill, and Faded's going to take a little bit of damage from below as well. Blade's watching the flank. He's ready to catch if anyone decides to drop down these red stairs. No one really peeking at this point in time. Hixer is at the top by Lamp, ready at a moment's notice to peek down if necessary, but Yotsuba's also ready to push around that corner, except now Yotsuba has no utility to work with, none to contend with, cannot clear that shield. Hixer's going to fell him in the process, a 3v5, shots going on towards red stairs. Hixer wins that one as well into Blade. Hex is down below, very low, and it's just up to Hex and Flexo in a 2v5. Candace are looking supremely dominant at this point in time, and despite Hex and Flexo being two of the best players for the Syntax squad, I'm not sure they can come back from a 2v5 with only 45 seconds remaining.
And not with the mass of utility that Candace have still got for them. Haven't cleared the shield at top study. We'll see the impact of the gas canister. It just keeps Flexo out on the balcony, and Joe fires off for one. Faded. A deep angle provides him the second. It's our first flawless round here on Villa, and stepping into overtime. Quite a powerful statement. It's clear to us, ladies and gentlemen, Candace are on the march back, but do Syntax have it in them to stop that battle here and send us to round number 15?
Well, Candace now looking very dominant. That's easily the best round we've seen so far from them. A flawless fashion for it. And on the defensive side, a round that they haven't touched since the first half. They've got a full 6 between that last time they saw it. And Sticky, I think you can agree with me. That's difficult to do when you haven't been playing it for a while. Sometimes it takes a round or two to get you back into the momentum, and you don't have that opportunity to do so. Now, Syntax are taking a lot of rounds back-to-back and pretty devastating losses. Their mentality is going to be what me and Fella would call down bad. They're down horrendous. They're not where they want to be, and that may be the most influential part about this, which will lead Candace to ultimately winning it, if that is the case. Syntax's mentality is the most important aspect right now. Yes, Candace is winning, and they're winning in a good way, but it's the ways that they're winning and the way at which they're managing that comeback. The reason why Syntax was able to bring back a massive 4-round comeback prior was because Candace was getting and losing that mentality. They've obviously straightened up and caught themselves in a better way, and now they're just continuing to do what they should have been doing from the very beginning, playing like they are and winning these rounds in this way. And Syntax kind of lost that momentum they had, and that could be the ultimate decider. I think Candace has a good chance, but I need to see Flexo and Hex pop off once again, and I think Syntax can take it.
Well, here's a curious statistic. We have not had individual rounds go back-to-back for either one of these squads. It's been at least, if a team wins a round, they will win 2. That was the first half, 2 rounds for Candace, 2 for Syntax, 2 for Candace. And then in the second half, 4 for Syntax. And now, with the Statue Dining Aviator trio of defense wins back-to-back, we could be looking at a requisite 4th put onto the calendar here for Candace if Syntax are not able to finally figure it out and decipher what's going wrong. Yotsuba was been talked about pretty much ad nauseum at this point, but he's kind of had a bit of a slowdown here. Going 8-12, surely he would like to make some impact in this round to try to add some pizzazz to that statistic. Loving the fact that Candace are locking down the flank below. Haven't quite brought in the Lion, but their executes have looked a little better. However, Phoenix fell now by Hex again from this top stairs position, but Flexo taken out by a nade. I believe that's just bales up through the floor, and you've lost your smoke canisters, which is gonna put a little bit of anxiety there to Syntax when the execute is to come.
Yeah, we saw it last time where Candace used those toxic babes to their advantage, and ultimately what gave them the flawless round. We do see another pick go through, Joe managing to tag off one. That's going to be a very important one as Hex has felled your 2 top players, ones I said you needed to see. Bales finds Blade, Joe finds Erna to Krieger, Yotsuma does find 2, but now the last man standing has to face off against Faded and Hixer, trapped, ultimately losing their life as Hixer finds the shot. And round 14 will go. It is 4 rounds back-to-back for both sides. But unfortunately for this Syntax roster, Candace will be your hard-fought victors in an absolute barn-burner slugfest matchup that we've had the pleasure of casting today.
Goes all the way into overtime, not quite to round number 15, but certainly into the depths of a game that we might have expected to conclude in regulation, but it will be Candace who move up to 1-1 in the standings, and unfortunately Syntax fall to 0-2. I'm sure we'll all be tuning in to see how they play in week number 3. Are they going to resurge or dive deeper and deeper into the depths of the leaderboard? Here we have another game coming up, but before we get there, we have a short break, so stick with us. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, we're back. We're here for more Upsurge. We've got another game ahead of us. It's Revenge Nation taking on Overture Gaming. My name is Sticula, and I am again joined by my uncanny duo, Infernosis.
Well, you know, always a pleasure to be here. It was a great game one. We had the pleasure to watch and behold Now we're going to see how game 2 is going to go out. Obviously, it's not Candace and Syntax, as you see down below you. And we're going to have to see that one get a little bit updated, but it's Revenge Nation versus Overture. So this one's going to be very interesting as well. And I think we're already ready to jump into the map bans, but we'll talk about it. You have a little bit of insight for Overture. You've actually scrimmed them before, apparently.
I did, but to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think the scrim was of very much value. I was playing on a tryout team at the time, and Overture, they kind of smoked my pack a little bit. I did, I was smoking Hawk's pack though, just a little bit. I was playing like Wamai, and I kept running out. We play them on Coastline, and it was interesting. That was my playing days, which are over now. Of course, I'm Coach Sticula now, so you know I've hung up the gloves and I've put the mouse away.
Yeah, put the mouse away, but put the sunglasses on. So, obviously ready to watch at a moment's notice and keep things interesting. But we'll go into the map bans real fast. Go ahead and jump right into it. We have Revenge Nation. They're starting off with their first ban. They're going to go ahead and remove one of the tried and true maps of Oregon. So, Borgin out for the count. Immediately, Overture Gaming is going to have their pick of the litter. Going to take out Consulate, taking out that window repel simulator map. Not liking the large maps. Revenge Nation as well follows suits with Villa. So, we're not going to see the repeat map of Villa this time around. Overture takes out Cafe. I'm going to root for Overture this time just because it's very obvious. I despise Cafe. Revenge Nation, they get a very pivotal ban, a second to last. It's their last one of the time. Clubhouse out for the count. And now we have a possibility for Chalet to be in the count. Overture with the last one, taking out Coastline and picking up Chalet. Extremely excited for this one, but seeing the last two maps up there is extremely shocking. Both of them typically considered attacking-sided maps. Coastline's been a little bit less in Pro League for attacking-sided, but obviously this isn't Pro League because they're facing Sticula and Scrims. So it's a little bit different. So we'll consider it an attacker-sided map. So we're going to say Coastline and Chalet, the two most attacker-sided maps in the current game of R6, being the last two left standing. It's interesting.
Yes, they are the final two, and we will get to have a fun old Chalet game. We don't get to go there terribly too often, so hey, that is at least something. I don't know how much Chalet that we've had so far this season. I know there has been some in seasons past. I think I had the pleasure, maybe not the pleasure, of casting a Chalet with Chief during playoffs. I want to say it was in one of the semifinal games, but my memory might be failing me here. But Chalet, not too terribly common, but Overture going for Chalet over Coastline, which was available. What does that tell you?
Well, first off, seeing Chalet in the first place means they're really comfortable while playing on the defense. Chalet's a map that is extremely difficult for a defensive-sided team to play. That means they must really like shields. They must really dislike explosives, and we see that immediately. So they're going to get rid of Flores, which makes it very difficult for an attacking team now to deal with some of those shields. And I think we're going to see a lot of Vulcan shields. We're going to see a lot of Goyo unless one of these teams bans it out. And I think that would be a smart decision for Revenge Nation starting off. Get rid of that excess amount of shields and kind of work to their own nature. Their attacking ban, however, is going to be a bit interesting, or maybe not. I still think it's interesting. I don't think Thatcher's a very strong ban for this map, in all honesty. I didn't anticipate it because it's just not that good. It's a little like the last map, right? Where you don't necessarily need it. It can help, but you don't necessarily need to ban them out. But the second, we're going to see Revenge Nation's defensive ban, and this is the one where I think if we see a Goyo, it would be a smart decision for them unless they want to play it themselves.
Valkyrie taken away. Flores is definitely one that I think makes plenty of sense here. Chalet has a lot of utility burn, and Flores can bypass that in a very direct, spontaneous, and decisive fashion. Not something that the defense are really going to want to work against. And let me just quickly check the map ban. Revenge Nation elected to begin on the offense. So Overture, they had to be prepared for that eventuality. Of course, you just mentioned it. If you're going to pick Chalet, you got to be prepared. You aren't just going to practice on one side. You need to kind of understand what it takes to be successful as a defender on Chalet, and sometimes that starts in the operator ban phase before we even get into the actual game. Thatcher, Mira, both of those can make plenty of sense given the scenario. The Mira is a little bit more surprising to me. I don't think we have too much Mira on kind of the primary rotation of sort of your standard office master bedroom. There is some claim that you can stake to maybe a stockhold on a bar and gaming defense, but other than that, Mira is just not the biggest operator in the world as compared to, you know, maybe something like a Maestro. I think you could make a big argument for, or Rooney especially, Scott. Rooney is very valuable on Chalet.
Oh yeah, I think a Rooney with any map that's got some really annoying corridors and doorways, so he just really floats and meshes well with the map and with teams in general. And just with these massive walls that are really prevalent on this map, she can clear those out with great utility usage by just using that giant fist of hers, that Robo Fist, and just clearing out what she needs to. It's great utility usage. I love a Rooney. I love to see how it's going, and seeing already that utility being brought to the table, very pivotal. But one place you can place that mirror barricade is actually in that hallway leading towards White Stairs. Where you see that shield is where Blade is. If you wanted to fin Piano and study, then you can obviously kind of play your own game, placing it on that wall, connecting over. I don't think mirrors are that strong. They're annoying to contend against, but in all honesty, with their nerf and just how dangerous it can be nowadays to play that, it's not something I necessarily think is ban worthy. I think Goya would have been a much better decision, and that's obviously what we see Overture playing with. They picked up and they're playing Shaka on this Goyo. That 6th pick they made, they wanted to keep it kind of hidden, and while it's very hard to hide those shields because there's about 30 of them around the map and it's getting reworked for a reason, it's definitely a very big annoyance to contend against. Trav obviously gathering information, stepping out from the bathroom on the 2nd floor, trying to gather a couple bit of droning spots towards the mezzanine. Sinnoh could be caught off if they're not too wary. They have pinged out that drone trying to tag it off, but that's a dangerous spot to sit because that outside window leading towards Hall can definitely tag you if you get a little bit too dangerous.
Curious angle we see Chosen open up there in the floor of the bathroom. I don't think I've seen that one before. Maybe it was to remove the default cam in West Main. But either way, I honestly believe the time could be a little bit better for Revenge Nation. It's kind of slow going here, especially when you have to be prepared to confront this top blue hold with Blade and Sinnoh, each bringing their massive mountain of catcher utility. Surya Gates as well. ADS have started to get burned. Chosen sends a few bullets overhead, but the shield has not been cleared, and this is wasting valuable time, and those ADS are going to soon reactivate and continue to provide even more difficulty against Blade and his hold here behind the Vulcan shield. Not to mention as well the fact that this Electro Claw is keeping the half-wall office wall open, or rather closed, and make sure that Revenge Nation cannot open it. And that is just going to further add to the time delay. It looks like Revenge Nation have kind of gotten caught off guard here by this Chalet pick.
Yeah, obviously trying to take a step forward. Vim will find the first pick, and not just in this round, but in this match, into Chosen's head, and Blaine will find the second right into Big Guy. This is the second Blade we've seen, so it's interesting to see this one may be a little bit sharper. We'll see how it pans out, but Sinnoh finds yet another for his roster, taking out Shrevmac, a 2v5. Kenny and Skunky are the last two remaining for this Revenge Nation roster. Make it now just Kenny, as Skunky takes a TCSG shot to the head from Shaka. Kenny's trapped right now in library entrance, doesn't really know where to go, what to do. These are Rooney melees make it impossible to step out, and Sinnoh with the pistol. They were toying with their food. Every one of them had their pistol out, pulled out the gap to get that round finished off, and it's exactly what happened. A flawless victory for Overture. I said you had to pick this map if you were comfortable on the defense, and they looked spectacular that time around.
And to think this is just how they look on the defense half when they get on the attack, we might be ahead of a real rout here in this game. Overture going to head over to Kitchen and Dining now, continuing to bring their signature operators. Hawks will hit a 6 pick. I'm curious if he'll bring the Castle, but instead it's actually the Pulse that he steps into here, which could have some impact. I think positions you might expect to see the Pulse. He could be in office using the cardiac sensor through the hard walls, which I would imagine for Overture are going to be reinforced. You could also send him below, though, to play inside Wine Cellar, below the hatch, and use that to nitro cell a potential plant situation, which is pretty common to see somebody try to plant there at the B-bomb chassis.
Now, obviously, a new objective means a whole new defense. This one's an interesting objective to see actually get played. It's pretty rare for me to see this one. Typically, a lot of teams prefer that basement objective. I don't know where I said my words there. They prefer that basement objective. It is a little bit quicker for an attacking team to maybe rush in and kind of breach that wall connecting towards that boiler. But in all honesty, I think it's still a stronger objective to kind of contend against if we do see Revenge Nation take control of the 2nd floor, which I don't think Overture is going to give them very easily. It'll make it extremely difficult for them to actually hold and contend against some of those default plant positions. But this is the same reason that you're going to see Hawks sitting here with a heartbeat sensor down below, a cardiac sensor to have that nitro cell to throw it up and get rid of some of those floorboards. Blade is there as well with the nitro, followed with Vim and Shaka. They have nitros to work with. Vim's got half his health to work with as well now as he takes a little bit of damage at the beginning. Same thing as Big Guy, trade for trade, tit for tat, like we saw last match prior. But in all honesty, with the way we saw Overture play in round one, in their strategies, they're continuing to go forward, not sticking to the same one, really just switching it up, not relying on that Goyo to play against it, still relying on the Aruni, which I think is just a smart decision all around. But seeing them adapt and vary their strategy makes me think that they know what they're doing, which makes me think they've got a really good chance for this.
The bodies spread all across the map. There's really Revenge Nation attackers in pretty much every position. Could be the beginnings of more of a horizontal push. You've got Trev Mac just lurking there on the bottom of the blue stairs. Maybe they have intel about what was planned for Hawks below, but he's actually rotated back up, just walked up the west main stairs, and so Trev Mac and his teammate will sneak through, but the only thing they get is an Electro Claw, which, hey, I mean, that's a pretty decent grab for utility to find, not to mention Big Guy, who will catch Hawks as he tried to rotate back down the blue stairs. A bit poorly timed there from the Pulse, and he'll lose out on the opportunity to put his Nitro to work against a prospective plant situation, but lucky for him, 3 of his teammates also have elected to bring Nitro Cells as well.
It's very important that you have those nitro cells and you can actually use them to good use. And Hunks, unfortunately, at this point in time, now that they're out, is going to have to be on drone duty, or sorry, camera duty at this point in time. Shaka wasn't able to really gather very many drones, if any at all. If they were, they've been shot out. So unfortunately, there's not going to be much mobile information that can be gathered, kind of relying on those tried and true basic cams. But I don't think Revenge Nation's going to leave those up for very long. They've obviously breached open this main wall connecting from that side dining all the way over into main lobby towards Fireplace Hall. Kenny's going to have a good line of sight connecting forward. Trev Max the same way. They're going to get some offside angles. They're rotating from down below, hoping to maybe tag one more player if they are down there. That was where Hawk's domain was prior. I don't think they have anyone there currently. But now Revenge Nation, with a man advantage, have to step up and go forward. Gemini Replicator going through. Big Guy stepping up, looking to maybe contend. Watches towards Hash, doesn't spot anything. Trevmac finds Vim, however, and a plan does go down as Kenny's sitting behind table and looking to contend. Blade ready to step forward, doesn't step up in time, however, and now tries to tag Big Guy as he steps away. Now stepping out through main hall. Drunk, he gets taken out. Unfortunately, information for the defensive side or attacking side just being a little bit better. Kenny finding Shock in the process as well, and it's just Sinnoh in a 1v4. Make it a 4v0 as Kenny finds that last kill and finishes this round out. Wow, that was a really hard time for me there. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay, Scott. It happens to the best of us.
Oh, the best of us. That's thanks for the compliment, Stick. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, maybe we spoke too soon for Overture on their defense, because Revenge Nation looked like they understood that strat perfectly. They knew that Overture wanted to play below, and they pretty simply denied it. Their plant position as well, I didn't manage to catch it, but I don't think it was at default. I think it was like slightly adjusted, maybe closer to where they had opened up the breach. And either way, that wouldn't matter because we didn't see any nitros used there at the execute to deny the plant. Blade hung on to his for a little bit too long, and maybe there was a lack of intel, so perhaps what you could thrust into that lineup for Overture there would be a little bit extra information. Maybe bring someone with a bulletproof camera to put inside dining. Oftentimes that's probably going to go uncleared by the offense, and it's almost guaranteed, I would say, Scott, for a bar, or not a bar, a dining kitchen defense, excuse me, to end in a dining plant situation. Very rare that you'll have an execute onto kitchen itself.
It's pretty rare. I mean, it's just rare to see that objective, in my opinion. Of all the times I've cast Chalet, which unfortunately isn't very often because teams don't love me enough to go for and play Chalet, I've only seen that objective twice now. That was one of them. It's interesting to see them actually pick that one up. Maybe they felt comfortable on it, but Revenge Nation just kind of had their number, really caught them off guard. But now we're going to pick up and go to the second floor. We're going to see that study. We're going to see the office. We're going to see the master bedroom, see how this hold's going to go out. We see Revenge Nation really wanting to focus on this eastern side, do some repel gameplay, maybe get some window repel simulator. It may not be cafe, it may not be consulate, but we do still have a lot of windows that we can work with. And one of the big ones is this master bedroom window that they can try to contend with. And Ying's Candelas can make it nigh impossible to just even see, let alone play the game correctly. Big guy steps up, finds Hawks in an opening pick. Trevmac gets one with a shield in the process. The Skunky finds one of their own. Chosen refragged back from Shaka, but a 4v2 already in motion because Revenge Nation's assault was a little bit too quick for this Overture defense to contend against. Blade now taken out as Kenny steps up and finds that long shot angle. Shaka lying down inside Library Hall, ready to find one, but there's no one inside of office. Big guy's nearby, but actually hasn't pushed. It's going to be a master bedroom plant, and now a 4v1 is in motion.
Plant is down, and the pressure is on for Shaka, who's got 4 opponents to contest with. Looks like Revenge Nation have just had a complete change of pace, and the Jaeger's not even sure which angle he should even be checking. It'll ultimately be the 0 there from the bathroom, just playing with his food, eventually finishes him off, and, well, Revenge Nation's slow going, attacking the vertical extension, but then to kitchen and dining, and now up to master and office. Overture Gaming, they look a little bit shaken.
Shaken, but not stirred. I'm not even sure if you would get that reference here, Stick. I mean, you're not Chief, you're not 75 years old, so you wouldn't really catch references from like the 80s and 90s movies, but good Bond reference, and but we'll move on from that because you obviously don't have gray hairs and hate barns burning. But in all honesty, Revenge Nation just looked spectacular in that round. There was no chance for Overture. Once they took control of that window, had the strategy to throw those contentless in, and literally just decimated the Overture defense, there was nothing that could happen. They just dominated. It was a spectacular round. Revenge Nation looked impeccable. And that, I would say, that was more dominant than Overture's first round. Despite it not being flawless and Overture's round 1 was flawless, Revenge Nation managed to turn that around. And in the quickest round we've seen yet, take it in a very good, very, very nice fashion. I'm going to call it here, Stick. That's probably my favorite round of the day so far. And we still have quite a few more we have to go through.
Yeah, this game is barely even halfway through the first split, so there is still more games to play. Of course, we've had a bit of a server issue, so bear with us, please. We all know Siege is not the most technically apt game. Sometimes the old rickety servers fall off the tracks and clatter to the ground below, but we'll have everybody back in a new server built. One thing as well there, gotta love having the Ying rush. Revenge Nation don't mince words, excuse me. They rush in, they fly in through the window, and it looked like Overture, they just weren't ready for it.
Yeah, to be fair, I love Candelas. I love Ying. She's one of my favorite operators in the entire game. She plays spectacularly. The fact that she can not just have one of the best weapons in the game, the LSW, but she can also have the Candelas that blind and debilitate you for such an extended period of time. Maybe not like, say, Escape from Tarkov time, where you're blinded for the rest of your time in the grade, but still, for a time that's to the point of, it feels like Modern Warfare 2 flash grenades, right? Like, you feel a bit of a throwback to that. It's really debilitating. It hurts. It's not fun to face against, but it's fun to play. And seeing them bring that out there, man, that tickles my heart. That tickles me pink all across the board. And that's not just my pink cheeks. It's such fun to see, and I just loved the way that Revenge Nation took that round. I said I wanted Overture to win because they picked up and banned Cafe, but in all honesty, Revenge Nation kind of stole my heart with a Ying pick right there, and in the way they played it, I couldn't have asked for better.
So, now that Overture have lost 2 in a row, what changes would you suggest to them to try to fix some of the issues that they're experiencing?
For Overture's defensive, is that what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
A big majority would be to stop the really aggressive push that Revenge Nation is doing. They need more of an extended roam. One big way that you would have stopped the kitchen dining push is the fact that if you actually had someone on the second floor on mezzanine, you would have slowed that push, or even someone down below inside garage ready to go up that elbow staircase. You could have had somebody catch off in the rear, but you didn't have that. And ultimately, they had free reign to take Fireplace Hall, that central lobby. You had no one to contend against it. They can walk up, throw a couple smokes, and then you're left to wonder what exactly is going on and what do we have to do. So I don't think the Pulse is the play, because they weren't going to play it to the other side. I think it would have just been smarter to play your first game like you did in round 1 and just play offside and kind of try to contend against them in normal 50-50 gunfights. And yes, it's hard to kind of warrant that when you think you can get an easy round, but stick with what's tried and true. Don't try to, don't fix it if it ain't broken. And obviously it wasn't broken when you took a flawless victory in round 1. So round 3 is a completely different workhorse, though. I mean, Revenge Nation just rushed it. There's no way to really predict that that's going to happen. You have to listen and be able to adapt quicker than that, and they just weren't capable of doing so. So don't play that objective again. Stick away from it. It's just, if they pull out again, I don't know if Overture's capable of doing so because they want to play that off-site on that objective, and they don't have the operator lineup to actually just sit inside of the objective and try to face off against that. You'd have to bring a warden, and who wants to bring a warden, am I right?
Fortunately, Warden is not really a familiar face in the deathmatch meta. He has got a shield, but fortunately, that's just not really enough at the current day. I haven't seen Warden. He does have the 1.5.
Love that 1.5. Yeah, the MPX.
Somebody's losing the 1.5.
I love his kit.
I forget who it is.
It is. It's Frost. Frost is losing the 1.5, and Alibi is getting it. So I'm going to be playing a lot more Alibi. I love Alibi.
It's got to. Alibi. It's got to be on the shotgun, on the ACS,
no, I'm
right?
pretty sure it's on the Storm.
Really? That seems kind of like, that seems crazy OP.
That's what it was initially. That's what somebody sent me. So either they edit it and it's completely wrong and I'm totally getting debated, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. You feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody that actually knows, feel free to correct. But like, all I know is Alibi's getting it and Frost is losing it. So
Frost is, I don't think Frost really needs the nerf. I feel like Frost is in a fine place where she is right now. Like, Frost doesn't have an OP gun. Like, it's decent at range, but either way, we do have a game to cast here, Scott. That is that is what we get paid for here at Unified, so looks like somebody's got a cursor bug as well here. Just a quick public service announcement. There is a way to fix the cursor bug. You press escape to navigate to the options menu, and then you spam options over and over again. You continue to click options very quickly, and then hit escape at the same time that you're doing that. Eventually, it will fix it. I've had it happen multiple times. Actually, I put some rank last night on Villa, and it happened twice in the same game. It was very frustrating, but I managed to fix it before the prep phase, so I didn't lose my elo.
There you go. Yeah, that'll be the way to do it. And I have actually proven it. I'm on the Ubisoft website right now, and is their year 6 season 2.2 designer notes. They stated that Frost is losing her 1.5. They're taking off the C1. That's a really weird decision. It's one of the best damaging weapons. It's just like, it's a slept on SMG, but pros and top ranked players, they know, right? It's not going to be slept on there, and it absolutely dominates. The Alibi, though, they added the 2.0 scope onto the ACS 12. They removed the 1.5. It already had it. And then they added the 1.5 to the MX4 Storm. So she's over here just taping and retaping scopes onto her weapons right now. Just kind of like mixing and matching. Apparently found a 2.0 on the floor somewhere and just duct taped it around the shotgun. But yeah, I mean, there's some interesting changes all across that they're thinking of doing. The MX4 Storm or the 1.5. Alibi, whose utility isn't that useful, but the weapon is S tier. I mean, it's a phenomenal. MX4 Storm's great. And the fact that you have a pocket shotgun you can work with, it's going to be really interesting. And as well as Tachanka getting a deployable shield instead of a proximity alarm, it's going to make him a little bit more viable as well, especially considering the fact that his DP27 is going to have better destructive utility.
The one thing about the MX4 that I was kind of thinking, like, if you look to Mozzie, who's got the choice between the Roni and the Commando, you have, like, a very clear trade-off there. The Commando, a little bit slower firing, but it does have the, the fuller magazine compared to the Roni, which is limited, but has the 1.5, whereas I feel like the MX4, it's got both. It's got the 30+1, but it's also got the 1.5, and a lot of times people will bring Alibi for the gun. I believe she's also got deployable as well. I'm here on Liquipedia, but it doesn't say. I'll have to come back after hours and edit this to add it. But she does have the deployable shield, and that plus a 1.5 on the MX4. I mean, I could see a pretty clear case for having somebody like Alibi play like Pixel on Cafe, or maybe Blue Stairs here on Villa.
Yeah, I think the fact of the matter is Alibi's utility has been a little bit meh across the board. It's kind of hard to warrant that. A lot of people are saying, hey, just make it so her skins actually show. That doesn't matter for, this level of play because you just use default skin normally anyways. But it's still, the fact of the matter is still the same. Is the 1.5 going to be enough to make her used, make her viable and brought into competitive play? I think yes, just because of how strong the MX4 Storm is and how slept on Alibi can really be. When somebody has to, in the spick of a moment, find a shot and predict, is that a real person or an Alibi clone or replicator? They take one shot, you know exactly where they are, not just because it pings, but because a good player knows where those tracers go and knows where to fire. it's strong, and it's something that is natively slept on because mid-range people aren't firing instantly when they see a movement or they see a slight object. They're gonna go, "Is that somebody? Okay, I'll fire." But high rank, high level players, they want to fire immediately because if you lose that split second, that tiny 0.1 of a second to take that shot, you're losing that engagement. They can't take that risk of losing that engagement.
And a curious parallel with Frost and Alibi as well is what the either gadget can do to a window. Because you think about like Alibi, if she puts her gadget at the window, it can be pretty difficult to shoot the actual metal base that you need to destroy at the bottom. Which I mean, Frost is pretty much the same thing. It distracts you. You're forced to look down. And as well, it can be kind of frustrating as well with the prismas at windows because if you're trying to shoot an opponent who's, you know, kind of peeking you from the other side of the window, you got to shoot the prisma as well, which will trigger the gadget and reveal your position, which is never a fun situation to be under, kind of like a attacking or a defending lion. We're back on the game. Let's cross our fingers and clutch onto our rabbit's foot to make sure that we do not get any more cursor bugs and that we can resume here in this week 2 final day matchup.
I think the biggest thing, in my opinion, that's going to be so influential is not just the fact that Frost is getting a 1.5 removed, which means she's going to be picked less. That means less Frost mats below windows. And Alibi, just like you said, can just completely replace her. She can almost fill that exact same role because who actually steps into Frost mats at the highest level of play? It's rare, right? And we're going to meme on them the entire time on Twitter if they do. And yes, that will be missed. RIP all those great Twitter moments. But Alibi can fulfill the same active role of forcing you to look down and kind of distract you that the Frost mats can too. So it's something to always think about. What can replace what? And I think this is one of those few changes that I look at and say, Ubisoft, you've done it right this time around. I like this change, and I think that it's something to work with. I also like Zophia's M762 kind of being nerfed a little bit, kind of losing that, making it hard to control with a little bit more difficult of a recoil pattern. I think Zofia is really hot right now in the game. I think that Ayana fits in really well into the meta, and I think she should stay, but I think we've just seen too much of Zofia. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but as a caster, I think we see too much of Zofia to actually work with. But I tell you, we don't see often. That's going to be Lions, Zeros, and Thermites. It's an interesting lineup for Revenge Nation. We'll have to see how it pans out for them.
I don't hate this. I think this could really be valuable, especially when you're thinking about this vertical extension. You want to lock the defenders in positions. You don't want to be, you know, waiting around for them to expose themselves, kind of wait for them to peek up and fight against you. And beyond the impact of Zero, who can be very helpful on this map with providing a little bit of extra flank coverage, if push comes to shove, he can use his Argus cameras to actually burn ADS, which can be pretty helpful here. Revenge Nation have brought a set of flashbangs each across Kenny and Chosen, so you do have that available. And then, of course, the Nitros to clear any of that utility as well. Bit of an early find there. Chosen just using one of his Lion scans, battles back against one of his opponents, the Jaeger of Sinnoh, who was kind of just playing ahead, maybe looking to shoot a couple drones.
I really like seeing a Zero being put into play, and I know that Revenge Nation actually really likes playing Zero. I've casted them before. A little bit of a different lineup. A lot of them are kind of the same in terms of the players playing it, but I do know for a couple old players that were on the Revenge Nation team, some of them were the Academy team, they really liked playing Zero, so I'm glad to see Revenge Nation sticking to that and them, you know, sticking to what they like to play and what they can play. So it's nice to see that, but the question really is whether or not it's going to be enough of an impact. Are those Argus cams going to actually be able to remove out some of these magnets or ADSs, or is Skunky going to get taken out really early on and be unfortunately fragged before much impact can be made with that operator? That'd be unfortunate, but I think the biggest mar we might see is Chosen on this Lion. Yes, it's a very powerful utility, and it can definitely make it difficult for this Overture side to sit still, and that was a big worry for them last time we saw this objective. But was it a big enough worry to warrant bringing the Lion at this point in time? There's only one of these, you know, drones being able to be used left. An exothermic charge detonated now as they're intending to breach out toward May Hall. Blade's going to have to worry about one player and just tags off Chosen, so your Lion player with one utility left will be the first one to fall, which is unfortunate. But you were able to choose and, you know, mark off one player of Blade actually sitting on those white steps.
Well, there is a few bit of silver lining to this. They've lost Chosen, but in return, they've managed to clear the shield from the top of the staircase. That isn't going to completely eliminate the top floor presence. You've still got Vim playing here from inside the library. TrevMac finds one against the Jaeger. That's Sinnoh taken down. Blade will lose his life as well as TrevMac is hitting it with the pistol. 4 versus 3. Revenge Nation look like this could be the 3rd attack win here in a row as they just surmount control of the top floor. Kenny will use his exothermic. I believe that should be onto one of the hatches. Creates another opening, a drop down, if you will, to get inside the hatch and inside the site at large. You can see there's the opening now. Big guy using a replicator, hoping to get some intel from the Gemini and get a clearer understanding of what's coming down to the bomb site. Shaka catches one, and that's Kenny. That's Case down, and somebody else is going to have to come fill the void. Big guy collapses against Hawks. There's 2 bodies there, and Shaka lines him up for the double kill, but Big guy in tandem, but he can't fit through the rotate.
One too many cheeseburgers or one too many cocktails behind the bar. Just could not fit behind that rotation hole. Very unfortunate to be stopped by that, but I'm going to be honest here, Stick. I don't think they were going to make it through to the diffuser anyways. I don't think would have had time to actually get the plane down or play with it whatsoever. So a very nice assault we saw, but unfortunately Overture will be able to actually come out with a W and finish that one off. And that one's handily because of Shaka, the player that I've been talking about a lot, because they've been playing that Vulcan shield wielding Goyo that I said is so impactful. I love to see Goyo in play. I love the fact that he's also going to get nerfed. It's really counterintuitive. It doesn't seem like it would match, but the TCSG is a weapon that's highly slept on. It does a lot of damage. It's very impactful. We just saw right there the 2 bodies lined up, and it just became an absolute slugfest. Nothing they could do about it. Just aim your crosshair downfield and begin to click away, and that's exactly what we saw. Unfortunately failed, but not before fighting 3.
Really interesting that Overture choose to go down to the basement. In the current meta, the basement is kind of like the unwanted stepchild of bomb sites here on the map. Not one that really gets played too often. Of course, in previous days, in olden time, basement was the premier objective. And in ranked, some people still kind of hold on to that, but it's curious to see what we might have as far as their hole. Perhaps an extension up above could be on the cards, maybe a bit of a roam. Hatch is open. This is almost kind of like something you would maybe call like an SSG-esque roam, like something on Clubhouse, but here on Chalet with plenty of opportunities for stalling Revenge Nation out, for wasting time, and for denying what would be kind of that vertical presence. A lot of times it's that in combination with your hard breaching efforts as well here, but Revenge Nation don't have a Maverick, so one thing they might struggle with as well is getting open some of these wine cellar walls.
Wine cellar is very difficult to open up, and I really like to see what you classified as the SSG style roam. I love to see roam in any style whatsoever, and I think that's where Overture really needs to flip this one on its head. They need to have impactful, successful roam if they want a chance. And this may just be the way to do it, because they obviously didn't like to bring that kitchen and dining holds. They need to play the basement instead. I called it prior. Overture, they need to change things up to a drastic measure, and this might just be the way to do it, but that's not the way to start. Shaka out for the count, playing that Malusi now will be relegated off to using cameras, and a 5v4 now in motion. One shot not going the right direction once again for Overture, as Chosen takes it out from the mezzanine on top. Doming Sinnoh as they play down next to Fireplace. Hawks rotating back from Dining Room, has the SMG-11 in hand. We'll have to kin with more than just that in the process. Blades also roaming off. It looks to be only one player for Overture actually sitting down below. And I don't even think they actually are, in honest opinion. They're completely relegating themselves off the site and just playing wherever they want to in hopes of finding that pick.
Bit of a quiet moment in the round. Kenny does manage to break that silence, though. He picks off Hawks. The roam for Overture is just completely capitulated at this point, and, wow, okay, big guy, what a way to add that one, and Chosen just gets one through the vertical. I mean, that is just... that's a strat that we aren't going to see come out again in Infernosis, and I could say that with certainty. Overture, they try something a little bit different, but, man, does it not work. That is a brutal defeat there. Revenge Nation, I guess that's kind of revenge. I guess you could say that in some respects, because they lost the last round when they went to bar, and frankly, probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, interesting decisions all account, but I'm going to go ahead and say What a match we've seen so far. I mean, Revenge Nation took it after Overture dominated their first 2 rounds, right? They completely went out and found so much success. But Revenge Nation, a team that going into this, I was like, I don't know what they're bringing to the table because I haven't seen much from them recently. And I've seen a ton of Revenge Nation prior. I know what they do. I know what they play. I've seen their academy team. I've seen their current roster. It's just I haven't seen enough of them recently to give an honest opinion of what they're able to do. And I'll tell you what they're able to do. Click heads. That's really what it's coming down to. They have strategy, they work really well together, but it looks to be most of their strategy is super reliant on being able to win those 50-50 gunfights, and they're doing that in spectacular fashion. They're playing in spots that Overture Gaming's defense is just not ready to anticipate, and they're able to just capitalize in spots that are essential to them winning those rounds. So I'm going to bring this question up. Is this just Revenge Nation playing as they should be, or is this because Revenge Nation is on the attack and Chalet is just categorically attacker-sided?
That is a tough one to answer. It's hard to come up with a really conclusive answer about that question, but the one thing I'll say is Overture, it's not like they're in a desperate spot. They're not, trailing by a super huge margin that would give Revenge Nation just this kind of stranglehold on the game. 2-4 usually would be expected in Overture. I mean, there's still opportunity here for them to even strike back and go to 3-3. I think my main worry would be what happens in that transition coming to the second half of the game. Do Overture have the momentum behind them, despite losing some rounds here on the first half of Chalet that have been, kind of a little bit embarrassing? They've been sort of a rout. Revenge Nation have a very high tempo, and Overture have not been able to entirely match that. The Realm was not the play. I think you kind of just want to shoot drones and fall back. If you're going to roam against Revenge Nation, you have to be prepared for the kind of coordination they're going to bring and the pace that they set, most especially when you've got big, vocal leaders like TrevMac and Big Guy. They're going to be frankly decisive about what they want to do, and it's going to be a little bit weary, to be honest, for Overture, because Revenge Nation moves so quickly in accomplishing these goals that they lay out.
Accomplishing the goals and going further beyond. Like, I don't know if you were a sports guy here, Stick, but say when you swing a baseball bat into a ball, when you kick a soccer ball, you don't just kick the ball and stop. You follow through, and that's exactly what we're seeing. Right. They're not stopping at just accomplishing their goals. They're able to go even further beyond. Yes, another dumb reference there. That one you probably get. That one's more our generation. But in all honesty, both sides look pretty okay. Revenge Nation's just really swept this last half of this first half, and I think that's kind of categorically because Revenge Nation just played better on this attacking side, and it fits their play style in a very drastic measure. Now, Overture are kind of at their wits' end. They really need to defend this. They need to finish this off in a 3-3 half. Attacker-sided Chalet, Overture can definitely manage to contend against it, but the problem still remains the fact that Revenge Nation has not been losing those gunfights. One player, however, TrevMac, now downed in the process. They managed to clear a Fireplace Hall, but they have to worry about one player in the flank from Garage Down Under by Snowmobile. That Sinnoh sees one, managing to win the fight when they obviously shouldn't have. Kenny losing that engagement because the Roni just too strong to go up against. Skunky now downed and finished off by Shaka, pulling out the gap and finishing what needs to be done. Vim finds one more, and the Big Guy, a 2v5, as TrevMac and Chosen are the last two standing, and this may be all she wrote for this Revenge Nation return if Overture continue this dominant reign.
Sinnoh and Vim each earning kills. Valuable attempt there, but ultimately not to be Overture. They get it. 3-3 at the conclusion of the half, and a big win personally there. That's got to be a bit of a mental booster. Vim, having been 0-2 since the rehost, now he's got a couple of kills to his name. It's 2-1. Hawks is still lagging behind, but if you add up the stats, even since, you can see Revenge Nation a little bit lopsided. Chosen and Big Guy have been leading the charge, but now you step into the second half, and Overture, they're on the attack. They pick the map, so clearly they've got something prepared here that they want to show us. Iana and Lion in the first composition. This hasn't been too much of a deviation from the lineups that we've seen so far this game. It's a 6 pick. Lion over towards those 0. Both operators kind of built up to try to strengthen the fringe of your hold to make sure the intel is there and that you aren't in the dark when it comes to the offsite presence from Revenge Nation.
You can't be in the dark, and at the same time, now that this halftime switch has come through, neither side really knows what the other side's going to bring to the table. It's going to be 1 or 2 rounds of really just feeling each other out, and if one of those teams manages to take both of those rounds, it may not be very good. I mean, we think about it at the very beginning. Overture took the first two, and then Revenge Nation sweeps the next three. I don't know what's going on with my brain. These team names really flubbing me. But Overture does come back and win that last one to make it that 3-3.5. And that could be what we see again. We could see Revenge Nation or Overture take another two at the beginning, and then the other side make a return. But in all honesty, do you really want to see a team have to rely on making a 3-round comeback? We saw it last time, and they were able to actually make a comeback. And then the other team made a comeback and then ultimately wins it. Comebacks are nice, but at the same time, you want to see a team dominate. You want to see a team completely sweep aside, and we haven't really been able to see that. We've seen flawless rounds for both sides, but it's been even nonetheless, despite the flawlessness existing. And yes, that's entertaining. I love to see that level of engagement between these rosters, but I also want to see a team manage to thrash and dominate like no other.
Been a pretty long time since I've seen Trevmac on the Ella. It's not really his usual fame in terms of operators. What?
Nice.
What? Nice. Great droning there. I mean, clearly some high-level droning to spot out Chosen. I mean, you can't be allowing that. Shaka is trying to come in the building, and the droning is off, and you don't know that the Jaeger is here. You give away that opening gunfight. Not really. I think the way that they wanted to start this second half, Kenny will strike. He gets another one. Big guy has been down in the meanwhile, but as Chosen tags on, this is looking like shades of round number one.
Yeah, Revenge Nation looks spectacular. They're stepping up and finding big picks, influential picks. They're still going to worry about Hawks, but Hawks hasn't really, I don't want to say not been showing up, but Hawks hasn't been as influential as some of his peers on his roster. And that could be kind of the deciding factor. Drone gets tossed. This one kind of feels more like just relegating it off to hope for an enemy to shoot it. Yes, they'll be able to take a step back and drone if they want to, but you really don't need to be tossing your drones, just relegating them off to baiting out shots and baiting out to see where those tracer rounds are coming from. Holes in the wall nearby, notices those leading over towards mezzanine. Wary about those white stairs, careful as there is a shield in that direction. Tosses a flash and hoping to get one, but only gets himself in the process. And also gets a little bit of concussive blast from Trev Max first mine. A minute remains at this point in time in Sticula. This looks to be an uphill battle that's near insurmountable for Hawks and Vim. They're both rotating over to maybe come in from bottom of white stairs, but in all honesty, they're going to have to contend not just against the player in white stairs, but the players literally everywhere else on this Revenge Nation roster.
At this point, really, the win condition for Overture, you need to try to work a pick against Big Guy or Chosen, but I imagine they're probably going to play a little bit more passive and have their other, more healthy teammates at the front lines. Kenny will just walk down the stairs, though Vim finds one. That's all he'll get here at the start of the second half as Revenge Nation pull away with the defense, and Overture Gaming kind of lacking a couple of fundamentals there. Their start off of the round, stepping into Solarium, was pestered by a Jaeger and a very well-timed play. Lack of droning and a bit of a miscue from Shaka to just rappel in the window and get caught off guard by that. It kind of catches me a little bit off guard that he would jump in without having fully cleared that side when you've got to expect Revenge Nation to roam a little bit. They've been kind of the aggressor so far this game.
Yeah, they have been. I mean, we noticed that kind of resurgence of their aggression in round 3 when we saw them pick up the Ying and kind of play that. And seeing their operator lineup kind of shows that same level of aggression that they want to bring to the table. Obviously, seeing an Ella on Trevmac, now we're seeing it rotate over to a Malusi, kind of fulfilling the same role. We saw Big Guy on a Frost, and yes, Frost has the Frost mats, but I think most of the majority of Big Guy's idea there was to actually find picks with the C1. And unfortunately, it didn't happen, but could have definitely have been there. I think it would have been interesting to see. Using the 1.5 while it still is there could definitely be a possibility for them. There's a lot of utility that's being dumped right now for this Revenge Nation roster. You're going to have to worry about Banshees. You're going to have to worry about these Evil Eyes. You have to worry about the Kaid Electro Claws that are completely cording off some of these walls. Surya Gates being placed up by the Aruni. That's going to be rocking that Roni as well. I assume so at least. And you're also going to have to worry about Toxic Beams as a last-ditch effort for Big Guy to contend against any of the Overture Assault. This round looks really steadily in favor of Revenge Nation because of just how strong their, I guess, utility dump really is. But if you take a look at Overture's side, they've got 4 nades. They can dump a lot as well. 6 flashes and 4 nades. They can get rid of any ADSs that would exist or magnets that would exist, but Revenge Nation didn't bring any. So every single one of those utilities is going to find impact one way or another.
This could be the beginning of a roam. We've got Sinnoh just poised here. Bottom blue, looking up. It's the vertical holes as well. It's pretty regular to see somebody hold up above there. Blade gets the opening pick. Lifeline now from Sinnoh. Shoots it up, but it doesn't detonate early. That proximity detection, there is nobody here to try to stop this. Skunky swings wide against Sinnoh to try to stall this out if he can, but Blade will pick off another one. 2 versus 2 now as that Alda just rips right through, but suddenly you've got Blade who's inside of the kitchen and Big Guy is trapped. SMG-11 recoil going everywhere, and now a Lion Scan is going to lock the smoke in position. A nade will roll through. Big Guy trying to back up, but the little health that he has left just got a little bit less. The plant, though, they aren't confident for Blade to put it down. Big Guy continues to use those smokes now as Vim has adjusted his position. The final call will go out, but Big Guy still spotted there, and Overture will finish the deal on a very successful West Main rush.
Interesting. I mean, you didn't really give time for the Toxic Babes or any of that utility to find impact. I think that was the smartest play Overture could have done there. They probably realized from seeing the operator lineup that there's going to be a lot of placements that get placed, and then they're kind of an active utility. You have to constantly be using them, like the cameras. Or with Melusi, you can kind of roam away, but if you pick them first or kind of rely on getting rid of them first, then you're sitting in a better spot to kind of contend against that. And Overture just says, hey, we'll run in, find the picks. And I think that entire round would have been different if Blade just wasn't so sharp, if they were a little bit more dull, if they weren't the sharpest tool in the, or the not sharpest knife in the, drawer, or whatever the phrase is, whatever it is. I'm not cheap. I'm not a boomer. I don't know.
Sharpest tool in the shed.
There you go. Yeah. I think my dad used to say one that was like sharpest knife in the drawer or something like that. Like just like slightly different, means the same exact thing, but it's just some like old people ideology or something. I don't know. I don't know. My dad's a weird guy. Oh, look at these evil eye locations, or electrical locations. That's interesting. I've never seen one placed there. But by all accounts, they placed one on the outside hallway, right? And then they placed one on top of the white, like, dresser right there, like on the corner.
Oh, okay.
There's one outside and one inside.
Gotcha.
It's interesting.
Usually what I'll do is I'll just dig mine into the floor, but that's interesting to see.
I do it in the roof or the floor, depending on what floor you're on, obviously. But I was sidetracked. It was interesting. That entire round would have been different if Blade didn't find those picks, and Blade was the most impactful person in that round. It typically has been one of the more impactful people. On the defense, held wide stairs very well with the shield in front. Managed to find one pick and a chosen. That really made it difficult, or actually not impossible, for Revenge Nation to win that round that they had to make them go ahead at half. And I think that, in all honesty, Revenge Nation, despite losing that round, it's not the biggest tear off their shoulder. It's not the worst injury they could face. I think Overture just kind of played against their strategy in the more accurate way, the most influential way.
Mm-hmm. We do have a bit of a roam below. Kenny, the contingent inside dining, but Overture are aware of this, and they've sent 2 up from West Main. It's that vertical angle, though, that will stop it dead in its tracks as, curiously, Shaka fails to check it up above. When the round prior, we had somebody check that angle. It'll just be a pretty simple swing there from Kenny to shut down Blade and to make sure that this West Main push doesn't really go anywhere. Vim now being concussed actually gets one. Kind of a fadeaway shot there as he backed off and peeled off. Kenny right through the wall. So you've at least got some purchase off the back of that, but still are trying to work for a trade. Sinnoh has been sent below, and there's a Melusi, Big Guy, having a bit of a fun day trying to chase him down. Lion Scan will come through, but Sinnoh fails to capitalize on it. He doesn't go just quick enough, and so Big Guy will manage to escape through. Sinnoh spotting the vertical holes. That'll dissuade him from pushing up the main stairs, and, well, maybe he'll think about it for a second time. Goes for the drone, just try to check it out a little bit. Vim playing coverage from the main stairs walk up to see if maybe the Melusi will try to expose herself there. Pressing forward now, Sinnoh. Just got to be careful of that vertical angle's always a problem to worry about. Kenny already having been cleared, though, from inside dining should mean that Overture at least have got control over here on the first floor north side.
I think one of the big things I've been noticing right now for Overture is the fact that they're really wasting a lot of their drones, right? I mean, Hawks has none left. Vim has none left. There's one for Sinnoh still remaining, and Shock and Blade didn't really have anything either. So their drone utility, yes, they were using them, but they were losing them, which is the same thing we saw for last game. whoever had the better information gathering, the better utility in regards to drones, then they were more likely to win that out. And I think that's a really important part of R6. If you're able to gather information, it gives you such a massive advantage. It's basically like guaranteeing a victory in its own right. But Hawk's going to drop an exothermic charge leading over towards Closet. Maybe gave you an opportunity to plant and step forward. One player nearby in that position. Hawks fell now by Chosen. Chosen finding a second now to Velma. A triple kill to their name. Make it a quad as he finds the last as well. A spectacular performance trapped inside of that closet and just completely doming on the last 3 remaining players.
That's one of those moments that we're going to have to go back and watch over again to just marvel at it there. Revenge Nation, they've stepped onto it, the threshold of match point here to see if they will go 6-4 or if Overture can tie us back up. This game, the second half offense, getting away from Overture a little bit, and their attacks just haven't looked really as prepared, as regimented as perhaps they were hoping. There's a few cracks here or there, and most especially to go up for a basement take up to the west main stairs to try to intervene with the dining hold. You have to be prepared for that vertical angle. That's pretty much default stuff, and it's there for the sole reason to deny that push. The one thing about that is there really isn't a very easy way to get in and try to attack that hold inside of dining, because you think about ways that you can approach it. Just simply from the door point of view, coming into the basement, of course, the garage, the big garage door coming in at vents, or the trench door. That's the main ways. You can probably see somebody approach there from the basement as well, the main door. But a lot of times trying to attack that, you're going to get funneled down to the singular angles that the defense are prepared for. And Revenge Nation played the angles better. And Overture, I guess, failed to react on top of that. Maybe what we need to see is just kind of a rotation in the way that they're going about this. Maybe they need more thorough droning. Perhaps the comms aren't exactly perfect as you would like them here. And so there's some of these mistakes that aren't being completely dialed in. Whereas compared to earlier on the offense for Revenge Nation, there was a couple points that I really liked. Thinking about, they're bringing the Zero to defeat the Electroclaw that gave them a lot of trouble on that office wall. As soon as they brought that, things were completely different. But hello, Sinnoh is in the site. Skunky's been taken down, and Overture are just in an all-out rush. They aren't waiting for a single thing. They're going to try to go in fast, and Overture have got the site under lock and key as Shaka will peel away too, and Hawks is getting the case down.
A devastating round. I mean, Revenge Nation just got completely decimated. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They just got walked in on and completely slaughtered. It was a one-sided affair. Trepmac walks away with 1, gets a vector headshot now into Shaka as they had managed to peel 2. No more in this round. A 2v4 in motion. Trevmac spraying and basically praying as they have to make a massive comeback. You see the 81 Dream going down one more time. Kenny getting some shots over, does manage to down Sinnoh, but Vim takes out Trevmac. Kenny turns, finds Vim. Now a 1v2, definitely doable for Kenny. Dangerous position to play though. Flash is still being expended. Eyes need to be wary at this point in time. Third one going off. His eyes are gone, and there's no time to get this diffuser done. Just gets the kill. Kenny finds it, nade tossed, and this round is done, but it ended in a 1v1. A nigh comeback for Revenge Nation, but Overture looked spectacular with that swift and guaranteed victory rush.
That's a bittersweet one there for Kenny. Gets 3, and it's a couple of good clips, but ultimately the time is just too low, and that's gonna happen when you execute under those circumstances. When you rush right at the start of the round, you deny the defense their ability to prepare, to calm, and say they are planting, here's how we're going to defeat it. You're gonna push up to the hatch, I'm gonna try to walk in through the bar door. You don't have time. You have to just make kind of an emotional response off of your instincts to push back there and try to net control to the side. And even though Kenny played it almost lights out, there just wasn't enough time left to get the final kill. And unfortunately, that's just kind of the way that the cookie crumbles. In Overture, it's a trick play, it's a pocket strap, but it comes out and it gets them a much needed win. Stuff like that, sometimes it just comes out on game day and there's nothing that you can do about it.
Revenge Nation just kind of let it happen. I think there's I think there's a distinct lack of preparation from them. Obviously, Overture knew exactly what to do. They looked at the lineup Revenge Nation was bringing and said, hey, we can rush this forward, and they did exactly that. Now, if Sinnoh didn't manage to damage off and find Skunky with a lot of damage and then finished off by one of his teammates, then it could have been a different story, but you can say that about anything. If they just won the gunfight, it wouldn't have mattered. That's technically true, but I don't think there's anything going to save Revenge Nation in that round. I mean, there's too many technicalities to have them win that round. If you just kill a little faster, and maybe there wasn't a guy on the second floor tossing 12 nades down, right? Like, just...
That's my rank teammates when I tell them that the way that they played a situation was wrong. Like, dude, just win your one. Like, what? How is it my fault? Like, just shifting the blame.
You should be winning your one anyways, right? I mean, as casters, we're supposed to be like the best of the best, right? Isn't that how it's supposed to work, right? Like,
maybe not so much.
I literally don't play the game often. You know, it's definitely that I've not been, absorbed in 16
The only thing that I can flex is my my 2 times console diamond. But other than that, I'm a fish out of water.
Bro, I'm 1-time bronze. Let's go on console. Thank you very much. It was on
we gotta get together and play sometime.
No, dude, I can't even convince people that like me to play with me. Like it is terrible.
Well, we've got a basement take on the cards here in this pivotal round, deciding who steps up to match point. Kenny works one out there against Blade. I'm curious where that had come down to. Maybe that was from the K9 window. It's hard to figure it out. Yeah, we don't know where he is. Either way, Blade is dead. He's on the ground, and the Sledge player has been pretty pivotal. Sometimes when it comes down to these more unusual, unorthodox assaults, kind of just Overture waiting for something to happen at this point. You've got a couple of members stacked up nearby to various entry points to the site. A few pieces of barbed wire here or there. The frost as well, and you can't be completely certain that your feet are going to be exposed. Mute playing close at the window. Vim is going to try to lock him in. He's playing at the corner, and there's a Z-ping on the position. Flashbang launched over. Chosen, though, still able to battle back one against Sinnoh. Otherwise on the map, that was Sinnoh Zoe from bottom blue stairs. More flashbang sent in. Chosen is finally taken out, but the Melusi has not been dealt with. Meanwhile, Chaka just kind of walked into the side, and Hawks will send it through for the follow-up. Kenny falls as well here, and now we're in a 2 versus 2 with another one falling at the hands of Vim, and it all up to Trevmac. This another trick play round could be doable, but Vim is looking down to the hatch, and Thermite's got to bail out, but it's Trevmac. He comes in huge there on the round, making the 1v2 clutch effort look easy as pie.
Man, finding that first player up inside Live and just completely attaching one to the second. A spectacular performance. Revenge Nation narrowly escaped yet another round, which looked like Overture was going to take it, and now they're up at match point. Stick, we could have another situation of going into overtime if Overture cannot manage to just rush in and find the win like they've done prior, but can we really consistently ask them to do it again? That's the thing we talked about early in round 1 or round 2. It becomes a major problem when you have to ask one player or one specific strategy and rely on it to try and win a game. Eventually a team will adapt, and that rush strategy, I think Revenge Nation is going to attempt to adapt to. They need to be just as swift. They need to make the return. Their weapons need to fire just as fast. And I want you to take a look at the weapons they're bringing to the table. A T5 SMG on that Oryx, which I love to see because Oryx is my favorite operator in the game. You're going to be having the Aldo, which is a little bit slower, but does have that long-range fire rate. An SMG 11 to hit a big guy as well as a shotgun to cut down some close angles. And then, of course, the Roni in the hands of Chosen. There's really nothing that can contend against that as long as they start firing at the same exact time. Revenge Nation look equipped to deal with this assault, but the question is whether or not Overture will allow them to actually contend against their assaults.
Oryx is definitely a little bit more of an unusual one for me. We don't see Oryx terribly too often on any map, really. Like, sometimes you'll see him on Consulate, for example, just because there are so many hatches on Consulate. I think if you did like a land study, like Consulate hatches per square foot, it probably comes out to the most of any map by far, just because of the nature of how the map goes, and Trevmac will try to play it in a fairly similar way. The one thing, though, is Trevmac's play on the Oryx is largely defined, in his success, I should say, with how Overture want to go for this assault. It looks like this is going to be more of a library take, which could be pretty influential. Chaka will skate by the hatch. He didn't actually peer down on it, which is unfortunately going to cause the death of his teammate. I imagine Sinnoh probably raging now because that's your Zofia, that's your entry pick on a match point situation.
Yeah, 5v4, very dangerous to contend against now. Revenge Nation at match point and Overture a player down. And especially one like Sinnoh, an entry fragger that's so pivotal to your side. Yes, Shaka has been a player that's been doing so well and been playing out of their mind, but you can't rely on Shaka to do everything. Vim has been playing extremely well as well, and you need them to play out of their mind as well with some assistance from Shaka. Blade was playing great in the first half, but has been slowly lagging behind of Vim and, of course, Shaka being able to play up. Alex is also just performing their utility role in a pretty great fashion. Finally, the Electroclaw spotted out will be dealt with in due fashion, and now the exothermic charge can be placed out. Hawks will be able to break down this northern mezzanine hard wall, giving them an opportunity to step up and actually contend towards the objective itself. Toxic Bang is being tossed out, dealt out, and Big Guy will now be one worse for wear, but still has two in the pocket that they can toss out. Revenge Nation are playing mostly around sight. Trevmax dropping in some melee holes, hoping to maybe catch one player or two off guard. But Sticula, at this point in time, Revenge Nation just have to wait for Overture to step up and go themselves because they can play their own game and force Overture to have to adapt to them.
Right, this is sort of a moment where Overture have got to look to one of their players and say somebody must step up. It's match point, it's 5-6, overtime, or it's completely over with, unless somebody here from OG can manage to move up and step up. Nitro, rather a nade over the top of the wall, but it fails to clear the Electroclaw, and that's further going to add to the time delay. There's 40 seconds. It's looking like another round where Overture, they're going to not clear utility. They're going to probably just have to storm in through the door and try to put their foot down against Revenge Nation. Shaka goes below. He's clearly searching for the Electroclaw, but he falls to Skunky from the hatch. That's a huge win. Revenge Nation, you can imagine their comms in the moment, probably elated, but still need to be a little bit calm. A Nitro sails over. It connects. That Skunky for 3. He gets another one. Can he find Vim? No, he's coming up the West Main stairs, but Overture Gaming, their only chance left is in the hands of the Zero. The SCK 3000, can it do all the work with only 8 seconds? Chosen for a TK, makes it just 3 that'll need to find the Aruni swings, but Chosen will finish it off, and it's Revenge Nation who will peel away. Overture going to Chalet, but it doesn't work out for them.
Man, what an absolutely just stellar performance in the last round for Revenge Nation. I mean, they completely slowed to a halt any chance for Overture to step into the objective. There was not a single point of entry for them. They attempted it, and it got slowed down every time, whether it was the second floor and they were attempting to take care of Study, whether it was the first floor, whether it was the basement, the cellar. They denied every possible chance. Revenge Nation knew they had it in the back. I think that TK was done just to have fun. I genuinely don't think that TK was done just on accident. I think it was him going, well, I'm not giving you the last kill. Right? Like, I'm going to take the last kill. And he got it, right? He stole it. He completely yoinked it away. Just a spectacular performance. And unfortunately, I kind of have to do it. Revenge Nation, you earned it. Sheesh! What a great game right there. An absolutely barn burner of a matchup.
Yeah, I gotta give some love to Revenge Nation. Of course, my boys, Big Guy and Trev Mac, been casting them for a long time, and it's a well-earned win on the day. A 7-5. They close it out in regulation here over in the Raven Shield Conference. And a big thing as well, Revenge Nation are going to be sailing up near the top of the leaderboard here in their conference, now moving up to 2-0 after their surprise victory against In Control Nation in the first week of play. Unfortunately, things are looking a little bit dire for Overture, who have not had much regular season luck. They're going to try to look forward to the next week. Maybe some things will change in scrims, and when they come back to us on game day, we'll have a better OG to watch. But that's all from us here tonight. We hope you enjoyed. It's certainly been a fun day of Rainbow Six, so I don't get to have myself and Infernosis on the cast terribly too often. But with that being said, that's all from us. Hope you have a great rest of your evening, and farewell.